All right, well, it's noon and we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining us again for our this week's Lunchtime Chats with Tlingit Haida. Again, I'm Richard Peterson. My Tlingit name is Ccthita. Really excited to have this week's panel. It's an exciting panel because we get to introduce our new COO, Roald Helgeson, and we're going to be talking about our tribal operations and self-governance. And so along with Roald, we have Helene Bennett and Ricardo Morales, and get to share some information about what it is we're doing and also how we're trying to change some things so that we better serve our tribal citizens. And, you know, one of the things I see right in the comments is people trying to get a hold of people and not getting return calls. And we're really trying to change that and make sure that everybody has access to the tribe and gets prompt responses. So really greatly appreciate hearing those comments. And I know it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me to hear them, but I appreciate hearing them so that we can, you know, we can't fix what we don't know. And we want to hear those things and be doing our best to serve and be accessible. So again, this week's Lunchtime Chat is going to be us sharing on our Tribal Operations Department, our self-governance program. We're doing this every week again to be accessible. The pandemic has made things a little more difficult, but I think it's provided this opportunity for us to be innovative in new ways to reach out to our tribal citizens. So anyways, let's get started. And Roald, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Mr. President. Harala isis, Atlan is di gurine lagen, Hoot Hungi Hinudikyong, Roald Helgeson Hinudikyong. Good people, my name's Roald Helgeson. I come from the community, I grew up in the community of Sitka. My family comes from Prince of Wales Island and Heidelberg. I'm just joining Tlingit Haida as the new Chief Operating Officer.
Welcome, Roald. Somehow I was muted. Roald, can't tell you how excited we are to have you here. You've really, truly hit the ground running. Turn to Helene. Can you introduce yourself, Helene?
Goodness, Chief President Peterson. Hello, everyone. My name is Helene Bennett. My Tlingit name is Ccthita, and I am Kagwantan of the Eagle's Nest House of Sitka. I was born and raised in Juneau and have worked for the tribe for almost 10 years, and I'm happy to be here today. And good. Thank you for everyone for joining. Goodness, Chief.
Great. And Ricardo?
Hello, everyone. My name is Ricardo Morales. I'm originally from Tucson, Arizona. I am Pasquayaqui Indian. Been here in Alaska since 2000, the year 2000 or 2001. Worked here for the tribe for the last 14 months. Thank you.
Great. Go ahead and get started with you, Roald. You know, you've only been on the job as the tribe's new Chief Operating Officer for just about a month now. As I said, you've really hit the ground running. Can you maybe start us off by giving us an overview of your role as the COO for our tribe?
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. The Chief Operating Officer provides administrative support to our president in all areas of tribal executive management, such as policy development, not only the fiscal and personnel, but also the operating policies, financing and business operations and negotiations, and representing or providing representation in tribal relations with government agencies, businesses, and private entities. The Chief Operating Officer also acts as a liaison with various government and private organizations, representing Tlingit and Haida in our business negotiations, serving on our tribe's investment committee for the Tribal Trust Fund, on the board for Tlingit and Haida, the Hope Condominium Association, and tribally owned enterprises. Also serves as a trustee for the tribe's employee retirement plans.
Great. Sounds like you have your hands full. You know, the tribe's truly doing a lot. As the COO, you oversee the Tribal Operations Department, and this department has historically provided really broad oversight of other administrative departments to ensure an efficient and productive work environment through technologies and program support. Can you provide us with an overview of the Tribal Operations Department?
Certainly I can. The Tribal Operations Department is responsible for ensuring our administrative and program operations remain consistent, well-functioning, and within the framework of our adopted budgets, our Tribal Assembly and Executive Committee, as well as you, Mr. President, your strategic direction and the strategic plans, applicable laws, regulations, and the policies and procedures that are established by Tlingit Haida's governing body, as well as all the laws of the state of Alaska and the United States government.
It's quite a mouthful. There's been some changes to the organizational structure, in particular, the oversight of other departments. Can you talk about this restructure a little more?
Sure. Tribal Operations now provides direct oversight for the following client and community services, as well as administrative support departments. That includes our wonderful 477 division, Cultural Heritage and Education, Tribal Family and Youth Services, Head Start, Native Lands and Resources, Public Safety, Reentry and Recovery, Self-Governance, Human Resources, and Information Technology.
Well, it doesn't look like you have any shortage of programs. Turning to Ricardo, we've developed Tribe View as a backbone for the tribe and for access for our tribal citizens. Ricardo, you're the systems coordinator, and you've been very involved in the phase implementation of this new database management system. Can you talk about TribeView and where we're at with the development and implementation of this database system?
Yes, Mr. President. Currently, we have our intake programs all set up for the tribe side. And what our goal is to provide more efficient and effective service delivery to our tribal citizens, and enabling our staff to focus on the comprehensive case management and strategies, enhance our abilities to empower tribal citizens to build sustainable and self-sufficient families and communities. But our end goal is to allow our clients to sign up and file directly for services they are looking for. Kind of streamline the whole system for our clients and the services we provide as a consortium here. But so in the future, we will be going into a TribeView Citizen Portal, hopefully here in the next month or so.
Great. Roald, what are some of the features of the new client portal, and how will it benefit our tribal citizens?
Thank you for that question. We talk a lot about new programs that are coming online, and certainly with the new application, you might say, so what does it mean for our people? Well, the new system will capture all necessary data for the required reporting to our funding agencies, as well as other client service reports. Its aim is to increase our efficiency and effectiveness of our service delivery for our tribal citizens. One of the great benefits is our tribal citizens will be able to log on through a citizen portal to update their contact information, apply for services through a single universal application process. It's going to eliminate duplication of services, and it's also going to link our clients through other collaborative referrals with programs that we have here at the tribe.
That's awesome. Ricardo, are you able to give us a sneak peek and walk us through the citizen portal?
Absolutely. 1 second here to.
No problem.
Go.
This probably isn't the most exciting thing, but I can tell you this is really going to be a game changer. And, you know, again, giving our citizens that opportunity to have more direct access to the tribe, and then for clients, you know, to their services. So looks like you're live.
This is going to be our website. This is just we're not live yet, so we're not in production. This is kind of the back end, but this is exactly what it will look like. And this gives a quick overview when you log in, when you first sign in. So this website, Ccthita at webpowerup.com, doesn't work. So, so if anybody tries it, it just won't work for you. But you can go in here and go ahead and see everything that has to go with our departments, how to get a hold of everybody. Each area, you can come in here and you would start off by logging in and registering. I've already done so, but you would fill your name out here. I'm going to go ahead and sign in and show you what it looks like on the inside. So this is our welcome page. We have, you can request services. We'll have a blog, and you have a personal profile. The blog will be a bunch of different things. We'll have a marketplace for marketplace and whatnot to be able to go to and look for certain things that we can provide through our enterprises as well. But request services where most clients will go to, and you can go and decide if you want to just apply for TANF, child care, general assistance, job placement, vocational rehab, or child support. Or you can go ahead and, this is on the right side, would be a universal application that you can fill out, and it'll recommend on which one of these, depending on how you answer the questions, how you would, which services you might want to apply for. And it's pretty, the application is the same wherever you wanted to go, but it'll give you an overview of what TANF does if you click on the TANF tab. Then you can go to the bottom, request services, and brings you back to the same application, but it'll at least give you an idea of what each department provides. And that's it.
Again, I know it probably doesn't seem so exciting watching on this, but this is going to be a tremendous game changer, I think, for access for our citizens. And really, I think seeing our clients take even more control of what they're working with our programs, and I'm really excited about that. Roald, when is the Citizen Portal go live?
The Citizen Portal is scheduled to go live next month in October 2020.
Awesome. Well, we're got our fingers crossed. I know as we launch this, you know, I'm sure there'll be some glitches, but you know, I anticipate a lot of effort's gone into this, so hopefully it'll be a really smooth transition. Turning to Helene, another area that tribal operations provides oversight is the self-governance compact. For our viewers who may not know, what is a compact tribe?
Thank you, President Peterson. So through a Memorandum of Understanding, or an MOU, Southeast Alaska tribes can authorize Tlingit and Haida to enter into a self-governance compact and annual funding agreement with the federal government to administer programs and services on their behalf. By tribal resolution, the following tribal communities have agreed to function as a consortium and have authorized Tlingit and Haida to compact with the United States government on their behalf. And that list includes Craig Tribal Association, Chilkoot Indian Association, Juneau Tlingit and Haida Community Council, Klawock Cooperative Association, Organized Village of Kisan, Organized Village of Saxman, Pelican Tlingit and Haida Community Council, and Wrangell Cooperative Association. With that, Craig and Wrangell have stepped away from the compact portion. However, they have left a few of the programs with Tlingit and Haida to continue to monitor those for them. And Tlingit and Haida also provides trust services to Ketchikan Indian Community, Skagway Traditional Council, and Tenakee Springs Indian Community.
So how is funding distributed to tribes under a compact?
The distribution is an allocation of funding calculated based on the intertribal distribution worksheet, which distributes tribal shares based on population for most programs and services, with the exception of the Realty program, which allocates funding based on the number of Native allotments in each community.
Right. When a tribe compacts with Tlingit and Haida, what services do we provide?
Under compact agreement, Southeast Alaska tribes can authorize Tlingit and Haida to administer all or some of the services on their behalf, which include burial assistance, college student assistance, enrollment, realty and forestry, general assistance, Indian Child Welfare Act, job placement and training, and Johnson O'Malley.
As you mentioned earlier, each year, Tlingit and Haida, along with compact tribes, meets with the Bureau of Indian Affairs to conduct the annual funding agreement negotiations. Will the negotiations take place this year?
Yes, we have been in recent communication with the Office of Self-Governance and Bureau of Indian Affairs. They currently are in place of scheduling the negotiations for Alaska, and we should be hearing soon when our confirmed date is, and then we will reach out to our compact tribes to get that scheduled, and most likely via Zoom.
Right. One of the other things that you do is you coordinate the community visits so that our executive administrative team, our managers, can meet with the tribal councils for each compact tribe. Will we be coordinating virtual community visits this year?
Yes, most definitely. Tlingit and Haida utilized Zoom early in May to meet with the compact tribes to discuss the CARES Act funding and the descriptions and what they could and could not do with that funding. So we will utilize that system to bring them all together for the negotiations process.
Yeah. That's pretty important that we've been able to utilize Zoom. We know that, you know, technology and communication isn't always the best in some of our communities, but we've been able to use it pretty effectively. And that kind of leads into my next questions is, you know, Helene, you coordinate tribal assembly. So for the past several years now, you've been doing that and planning the tribal assembly. As we've already announced, this year's tribal assembly was postponed in April due to the coronavirus pandemic, and we're now planning a virtual tribal assembly for October 1st. For those who are not familiar with the governing structure of the tribe, can you provide us with an overview of what tribal assembly is?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Tlingit and Haida's Tribal Assembly is the general legislative and governing body of the tribe. Its functions are to secure, preserve, and exercise the sovereign rights, powers, authorities, privileges, and immunities of the tribe, and all such other rights, powers, authorities shall possess to be granted, to maintain a role of and promote the welfare of the member citizens of the tribe, and to legislate for and govern the tribe and its member citizens. Also, when Tribal Assembly of Tlingit and Haida is not in session, the Executive Council, whether assembled or not, shall possess all of the powers of Tlingit and Haida.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what the agenda looks like for this year's Tribal Assembly?
Yes, so this year, going virtual, we have condensed it to one day, and that will consist of the State of the Tribe address, several other reports from our executive team, a review of the budgets and resolutions, a keynote address from the NCAI President, Fawn Sharp, and elections for the positions of President, Vice Presidents, Chief Justice, Associate Justice, Emerging Leader, and Delegate Citizen of the Year. And we are scheduled to go from 8 a.m. to 4:30 and hopefully cover all the necessary business in one day for our tribal citizens. Yeah,
because we're going to be going the virtual route, we've decided that really a 3-day tribal assembly, with the fatigue of sitting on your laptop for 3 days, really isn't very conducive. So we've really narrowed it down and really trying to get to the important business of the tribe. Really one of the biggest things is approving the budget and then electing officers. And so we're going to do that. I know we're going to be arranging meetings soon to meet with and to swear in our delegates. And we'll be going over the process of this. I think in light of the pandemic, we certainly don't want to be bringing people together for a large gathering, especially those that have been in hotbeds of high numbers. And we've seen it in our villages recently too, and we certainly don't want to put our villages at any more risk. So, we're really excited to have our tribal assembly. It was one of the big fears was not having it at all. And for us, it's, really the crux of who we are is our governing structures based on tribal assembly. So it's so very important for us to have that. And I just want to applaud our team, Helene and all of our folks that have been involved have really been thoughtful and putting a lot of work into planning this. So while it might be shorter with down to 1 day, I think the planning has probably been even more intense just to make sure that we meet all the objectives of tribal assembly, that our delegates are engaged and involved. That this is something we take extremely seriously. And so, but even more seriously is we take the safety and well-being of our people and our communities. So, I know that a lot of people have been reaching out to me, and I welcome that. Feel free to contact me if you have questions or concerns.
Thank you, President Peterson. I would like to add, I know our delegates have had a lot of questions, and we have just been really taking the time to make sure that we have all of our details lined up properly. We will have more information coming out for our delegates, and I would like to commend our tribal assembly staff. Everyone has stepped up, and they're concerned. They want this to go as smooth as possible, and our primary goal is to give all of our necessities to our delegates to conduct business in 1 day. And my primary goal is for our staff to understand what is happening, and in the long run, it creates less stress for our team. And they're able to focus a little more and be available to our delegates. So I want to commend the tribal assembly staff.
Thank you for that, Helene. That's a really good point. One of the things we want to talk about next is the CARES Act. And we've had a lot of questions and concerns about CARES Act and supporting our citizens. And we've been very methodical and making sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's before we roll out anything. And we applaud all of our other tribes that are taking steps to care for our citizens and our people. We know we've been made very clear to us by Department of Treasury that the spending is going to be extremely scrutinized. We have a very short time frame to do that. We rolled out one program where we supported small tribal citizen-owned businesses with a program, and I'm very excited. And I turned to Rold. You jumped right in and started working with several of our departments to build the framework for 2 new programs to help our tribal citizens that have been impacted by COVID-19. Just this week at our executive council meeting, they reviewed your program proposals and gave authorization for you to roll out these 2 programs. Can you talk about these 2 programs, including the application period and eligibility requirements?
Thank you, Mr. President, and we appreciate all the support from you and the Executive Council. We're very excited about these 2 new programs that have been approved by the Executive Council with funding from the CARES Act. The programs intend to strengthen our families and education by providing one-time needs-based support to households of tribal citizens impacted by COVID-19. Funds from the CARES Act will cover the program costs and are available to respond to this pandemic. A great result of this funding, the CARES Act funding that came to Tlingit and Haida, is that we're able to serve all tribal citizen households across the United States, regardless of the term service area. The first program, Family Education and Retraining Expense, that program will assist families with education and retraining expenses due to impacts from the coronavirus pandemic. It's a one-time $500 per household need-based program. It supports households with unexpected education and related expenses. The program intends to offset expenses due to homeschooling, retraining because of the loss or diminishment of employment, and new education that may be required as a response to COVID-19. The Executive Council and our President has supported a $3.5 million set aside for this temporary program. Funds will be used to support our tribal citizen households until these funds are depleted. Any tribal citizen household, regardless of their residence in the United States, is eligible to receive support from this program. For the eligibility requirements, people must be enrolled in Tlingit and Haida and demonstrate financial hardship that directly relates to COVID-19.
Rolled?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. You when you said that, you kind of made it sound whether or not they live in the United States, but specifically you must live in the United States.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. President. Yes, you must live in the United States. The second program is to support our families with home and utility expenses. And so this program also assists tribal citizens regardless of where they live in the United States. It supports families that are financially impacted by the coronavirus pandemic. It supports families for eligible housing, utility, and security expenses. The program is a one-time $500 per household need-based program for those households with unexpected reductions in income and increases in family expenses due to COVID-19. The program offsets some of the expenses of our households that are facing rent, mortgage, and utility expenses, as well as food security. The Executive Council and our President have allocated $4.5 million as a set aside for this temporary program, and these funds will also support tribal citizen households until the funds are depleted. Again, all tribal citizens, regardless of where they reside within the United States, are eligible to receive support from this program. And individuals must be enrolled in Tlingit and Haida, again, living in the United States, and demonstrate financial hardship that has been directly related to COVID-19. We are going to be posting an application electronically onto our website later today so that people can apply for these two programs. And we encourage tribal citizens who have been impacted by COVID-19 to apply. As this is a new program, we do expect a couple weeks in the processing of these applications, but we're very excited. We're very excited to be able to support our tribal citizens in their time of need. And we are excited that this program will go beyond the definition of service area, and it will impact our tribal citizens regardless of where they live in the United States.
I'm really excited about this. You know, I've had a lot of contact with our tribal citizens. We know that the pandemic has had a really hard impact on our people. I'm glad that we're going to be able to offer some relief. You know, one of the things I want to, some quick clarifying questions. So if you have a household and there's like 5 tribal citizens, can they all apply, or is it only the household?
Thank you, Mr. President. It would be the household that would apply in that case. And so there would be one distribution per household. With 4.5 million and a $500 per household, we could reach 9,000 households for our tribal citizens.
Right, and that sounds like a lot, but we have over 32,000 tribal citizens. So, we're really wanting to make sure this is equitable. Also, though, you can apply for both programs if you qualify for them in one household, correct? So on
That is correct.
on the one application, you'll have the opportunity to pick each one or both. Is that true?
Yes, Mr. President, you will be able to select one or both of the programs through the single application. We tried to also keep that application to two sides of one page. Of course, then also if people need to set up their account with us as well, there'll be an additional page for that. And if people want direct deposit, we can also confirm that. But it's exciting. We've recognized new costs. People have recognized costs around internet expenses. Some folks have been on furlough and have had to try to manage their rent expenses during this time period. So this won't meet all of the need, but it will make a sizable dent in some of these new costs or challenge costs during this time of COVID-19.
Yeah, thanks, Rold. And I want to recognize Rold. He, again, jumped right into this and really put this together with the help of our other folks, but he spearheaded this. And so his impact with the tribe has been immediate. And again, I'm overjoyed and excited to see Rold join the team. And this is a direct result of that. So he's very modest, but I'm going to say that anyways. But we have a lot of folks that need these things, and we're excited. So anyhow, I know we'll have a ton of questions from our viewers, but we'll finish with our conversation before we go to those. This one's kind of for both Rold and Helene. What are some of the short-term and long-term goals that the tribal operations has for this coming year, or for this year?
Thank you for that question, President Peterson. Some of our main goals for tribal operations is to implement the citizen portal and TriView, which is what Ricardo referred to earlier. That has been a huge portion for the last few years, and I think we are working through those diligently to ensure that our tribal citizens have easy access. We understand families are in time of need right now, and we're hoping that this portal will help eliminate some of the stress in an application process, checking in on their services. So we're very excited for the portal to be up and running. Another goal we have is to implement SharePoint in a modern experience, which is our intranet service for the tribe and our employees. We have been operating on a classic mode for several years, and we're just hoping that this will be an internal information piece that will give great benefit to our employees with Tlingit Haida. And also we have switched over to Microsoft Teams, and so we want to complete the implementation of that and provide training to all of our staff to better utilize it, especially now in this pandemic where we are telecommuting. We definitely need those services to help communicate with each other. And I think we have a long road ahead of us, but I think we have a solid team that's going to make these happen.
Thanks, Helene. Rold?
I would agree. Helene has covered our main objectives through this next year between implementing TriView, our SharePoint efforts, as well as Microsoft Teams. We're really excited about being able to bring these new programs on with some of the efforts around program planning. We also recognize that as we move into next year, and if we do see an immunization coming soon, a vaccine coming soon, how will the tribe's operations look as we move into 2021 and as we prepare ourselves to be able to be back in our office environment, supporting our citizens to the best way that we possibly can.
Great. Well, that really wraps up our conversation. And so we'll go ahead and turn now to the comments and questions from our viewers. So Sam, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. That was very informative. Our first question is coming from Cheryl Contreras. She's asking, Will the newly elected community council members be contacted sometime soon on what their responsibilities are for their communities?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working to schedule meetings with each community council in the coming weeks, and that's exactly what we're going to do, is kind of do a little orientation, swear them in, and then give them orientation to the upcoming tribal assembly. So if you are a newly elected delegate and you haven't been receiving any of the correspondence we've been sending out, please take the time to share your contact information through message with us. And Helene, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the tablets that we're going to be mailing out this week?
Yes, thank you, President Peterson. So for our newly elected delegates, we have purchased some Samsung tablets, which we have worked to configure to simply have the necessary items needed for tribal assembly on October 1st. We have worked to configure them to just give the basics. You will have access to our app for tribal assembly, which will provide you with your documentations needed to review. We are working on a resolution process right now. That information will go out, and we'll have the schedule available for our delegates as well, as far as when committees will meet to review resolutions. And so actually we do have a packing team scheduled for tomorrow to put the tablets together along with our delegate bags, instructions. We plan to create a YouTube video for delegates on basics on how to operate the tablets. We are going to coordinate with community council presidents in order to schedule the swearing-ins, and that we will also do a Robert's Rules of Order training in advance, so that will give our delegates a little bit of time to have access to their tablets, get used to them and become familiar. And then come October 1st, we will all come together electronically.
Great, thanks, Helene.
Awesome. Our next question is from Doug Gray. Does universal application include scholarships or grants for higher education?
Mr. President?
Go ahead, Rold.
I'd be happy to answer that. The answer is yes. Right now, our education department is using TribeView behind the scenes, but they're having to dual entry information off those hard applications into the system. So this will actually make it much faster to be able to process applications by being able to do that online into the future.
Excellent. Our next question is from Keith Sims. Any services for any out-of-state tribal members such as Idaho or Washington?
I can go ahead and take that. Well, with the CARES Act, this is going to be one of the first ones where we're able to serve our citizens wherever they are. Unfortunately, there's a misnomer out there. A lot of people believe that Tlingit Haida gets funding based on our population, and we actually don't. We get funding based on our service area population. And so unfortunately, when we operate programs, they're usually designated for that service area. The tribe is working diligently right now. We use the term economic sovereignty. We've been creating businesses and economic opportunities so that we can determine for ourselves who we serve, rather than having it dictated to us by a grant or program. So we are working on being able to serve our citizens wherever they're at all the time.
Excellent. Our next question is from, one second here, Paula Peterson. Can families use the education funding for internet cost for families that need to have access to online school?
Rolled.
Absolutely. The answer, Paula, is absolutely. You can use this application and financial assistance to support those new costs if you have to do internet connection. So I encourage people to apply to get online later today. We'll have the website up and running with a connection point right off our main Tlingit and Haida website, and you'll be able to apply.
Awesome. Our next question is from Ann Stepton. What are some of the examples of the situations that would, directly relate to the hardships of COVID-19 in which they could use to apply?
Mr. President?
Go for it.
I think that there are many hardships that can be described for COVID-19. Obviously, we do expect to be audited on the use of these funds. And so making sure that we've documented how our families have been and our households have been impacted is extremely important. Job loss could be one, decreased working hours could be another, furlough could be another, increased childcare costs, having to absorb new costs for the internet bandwidth in order for connectivity into our homes can also be an impact, as well as having to buy new computer hardware or even webcam hardware might be an additional cost as well. So if our tribal citizens have recognized these increased costs, making sure that they've filled out one of these applications is important. There will be some boxes that are pre-populated that might be some of these very examples that I've provided that a person can select, or they can add their own in if they'd like to describe what their financial impact has been. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Eleanor Austin Smith, and she's wondering, is the CARES income eligible or not?
Go ahead, Roel.
Well, unfortunately, so far they've been considering it income eligible, and we are certainly pushing back on that where we can. It is, especially in our 477 programs, we would hate for somebody to bounce out of being eligible for certain programs because they get financial assistance here. We believe that that wasn't the intent. We're pushing back on the regulation side, and we hope to all learn more as we continue to push back on that so that it doesn't impact anybody who might be getting financial assistance otherwise. The amount is still, while it will be a considerable number of households being hit positively by these funds, it probably won't move as many people into being no longer qualified for their other financial assistance. But it's certainly something we want to watch closely, and we continue to advocate on the side of Tlingit and Haida that those should be exempted.
Thank you. Our next question is from John and Lisa Young. Can TNH take the lead on researching grants for villages to have better internet services? I believe USDA rural broadband grants offer some assistance.
Well, we do share grants with other communities, but really we're not in a position to write grants for other communities necessarily unless working through our compact. Yesterday was the deadline on the FCC 2.5 gigahertz to the tribes, and we were instrumental in arranging regional meetings with the FCC, with folks to help us get our applications in to apply for the 2.5 gigahertz that the federal government's allowing for tribes.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Gail Dabaluz. Great job on the overview of the CARES funds. She's just wondering, what are the plans for dispersing any remaining CARES Act funding that Ccthita has received?
Great question, Gail. We actually hosted a lunchtime chat specifically to the CARES Act, I don't know, gosh, almost a month ago, I think. And I think it'd be good if you went back and watched that one. One of the, I guess some of the projects we're doing is we formed a tribal emergency operations center. And so we've been bulk purchasing emergency supplies and equipment. And we've bought barge connexes that we're gonna gift to our communities, loaded with about 3 months of emergency supplies, containing PPEs, you know, your mask, gloves, other deals to help a community deal with an emergency. In fact, one of our communities recently had an outbreak, and while we weren't able to send out the container yet, our team scrambled and sent out some supplies to help carry them through on seaplanes. So we've been doing that. We're working on some transitional housing issues. And so, yeah, I just welcome you to go back and watch that program, and you can see in detail some of the things that we've done. Also, not all of the money is actually truly CARES Act money. Some of it's more, I would say, CARES Act related. And so we've had, while, you know, you hear we got $28 million, some of it was very program specific. Some was put into child care and elder services. So, yeah.
Awesome. Next question is from Cynthia Flood. Where do you go in the website to apply? We may have covered this, but maybe a refresher.
Go ahead, Roll.
Thank you. I think Ms. Flood might be asking about the new programs that we're announcing right now. This afternoon, we'll be making those websites live. There will be a place to click on directly from our homepage that will take you there. So later this afternoon, our new CARES Act financial assistance application will go live on the internet.
Excellent. Our next question is from Dixie Hutchinson. How do tribal citizens apply for the COVID funding, which is the $500 per household?
Well, I think we've answered that a couple times now.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's continue then with Scarlett Jeffries. Is the deadline for the ASAP scholarship applications extended due to COVID-19?
Do you know that one, Rolled? I don't.
So I believe the ASAP is currently in a proposal that we're about to advance and fundraise for those scholarships. Our main college scholarship assistance has a rolling deadline, and it's only the alumni scholarship that does have a deadline, and its deadline is September 15th. And that's what I know right now. And I can certainly have Sarah Dibdahl follow up on, and she, I believe, is listening today, and so she'll be able to hear this question.
Excellent. Next question is from Jen Marvin. Do you have laptops for new college students, or where they could possibly purchase at a reasonable price? I have 2 going to college, and it's all online.
I'm not aware of a program that purchases laptops for college students.
All right, well, we'll move along. Our next question is, will there be a paper version of applications for citizens who don't have internet access, specifically elders?
Mr. President?
Yep.
Thank you. We did discuss that very need. Where would we have it? How would we make sure that it's available to folks? Certainly, it will be able to be printed off as well by individuals. We hope that our community council members across the United States would also be a source for folks. We are certainly in our locations, even though we may not be on site as we're working remotely, we do have officers who are present in our buildings, and we were going to print copies that they could give to folks as they're stopping by if they don't have any other access. So more will come and be reported on that as time goes by, but we recognize not everybody will have internet access, and so we want to have multiple ways in which people can receive the application.
We can send out a link to the application to all of our staff too, so they can, you know, if you have a client come in, you can easily print that off for them.
Awesome. This question from Cheryl Contreras is kind of tied in. Would tribes in rural communities be able to help elders fill out the form online?
That's really up to that local tribe, but we welcome anybody and everybody that wants to help somebody fill out, especially our elders, fill those out. Absolutely.
Excellent. Next question is from Jesse Wright. Is a positive COVID-19 test good enough to be eligible for the funds?
Mr. President?
Go ahead.
So I think that it's very important that I was able to read the entire question. It also references hardship, and we're not needing to meet the hardship standard. What we need to meet in order to pass the muster for the CARES Act funds is one that we're able to show that we were impacted as tribal households. So if whether somebody has been able to show positive or not positive for a COVID test, if your family was impacted by COVID in any of these ways, and you've had to take on new expenses during this time period because of COVID, you'll be able to apply. You'll just need to describe what those expenses are. What have been the increase in expenses? We aren't going to be asking for an entire set of copies and somebody's bank statements in this process. If somebody has taken on additional costs for an internet, we'll ask for a simple copy of the internet bill so that we can show the federal government, if they come and audit us later, that this person had increased costs in internet, and look, they have internet access. They had increased costs or impact in their financial position, and they own a house or they rent a house. They either have a mortgage or a rent payment. Here is a copy of a mortgage or rent statement, not multiple copies, but a single statement, so that we can demonstrate, yes, they do own a house or rent a house. And so that type of backup that would support us in the event of an audit will be extremely important as we move forward. So our goal is to make this as simple as possible and at the same time have the right backup so that we can share with the government that we were good stewards of those CARES Act resources, and we'll meet the qualifications that are in the program requirements.
So getting a lot of questions about how people can submit and who can do what. What I'm going to do is instruct staff today to send the link to the application to all of our Southeast tribes, to all of our community councils, and to all of our delegates. And if you can print it and you can mail it in, you can fax, scan, email, Pony Express it, however you can get it to us, we will accept it. Again, as Roald said, we want to make this as easy as possible. We're not putting up barriers. So any way you can get it to us, we're going to accept it. And we ask all of you who do have internet. We know that everybody doesn't have internet access, but it would be impossible for us to mail this out to 32,000 tribal citizens, many of whom we just have, bad addresses for. If you know anybody in your life that you think can benefit from this, please share it with them. Please get this out. And we know that communications is a barrier, but we're asking people to share this far and wide. So please go to our website, click the link, share that link, text that link. Again, if you got to send it by smoke signals or Morse code, do it. We want it out there. And I don't mean to be facetious, but I'm just trying to illustrate we'll take it any way we can get it.
Well, thank you, guys. I believe that's all the questions we have today. Oh, there's one more. We may have covered it already. Can members out of the service area be eligible for services?
For this CARES Act application, yes.
Awesome. I think that's all I have, guys.
Well, I want to thank everybody. If you're still asking questions and we didn't get to you, we'll go back over those online and make sure that we answer them. I really want to appreciate, I know there's going to be tremendous interest in this program. We are very excited about this. You know, we've been really wanting to be able to help our citizens. And so we hope this helps, and we believe that it will. Do we have our winners for this week's drawing? We do. Okay. So for this week's door prizes, we have Amy Starbird won a hydro flask, and Melinda Ann Douglas won a hydro flask. Please message us your contact information and we'll get those mailed out to you right away. Thank you again for tuning in. We hope this was useful. Thank you, Ganesh Hala, to our sponsors, Sacred Ground, Smokehouse Catering, Sacred Shine, and Elizabeth Pradovich Hall. And be sure to join us next week. We'll be announcing our topic for next week soon. And, you know, give us feedback. Let us know if these lunchtime chats are helping, if they enjoy them, if you don't, what we can do better. We want to be responsive. So thank you all very much. Be well, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, everyone.
And thank you to our panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good afternoon.